When a journalist mocked Barron Trump at a charity gala, no one expected his poised response to become the evening's defining moment. The ballroom at the Fairmont Grand Hotel was a vision of elegance. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over impeccably dressed guests, their quiet conversations creating a refined symphony. The annual charity gala had drawn some of the nation's most prominent figures, business leaders, entertainers, and journalists, all gathered to support a foundation dedicated to underprivileged youth. Though the atmosphere was celebratory, an undercurrent of anticipation crackled as the keynote speaker prepared to take the stage. Seated toward the back in a discreet corner was Barron Trump. At just 18, his tall frame and composed demeanor made him stand out, though he had no intention of drawing attention. He had been invited by a family friend, a quiet gesture meant to introduce him to a different social setting. Unlike many who relished the limelight, Barron seemed content to observe, his piercing blue eyes taking in the room with a quiet confidence beyond his years. The evening unfolded seamlessly. A string quartet played softly, waitstaff glided through the crowd with trays of delicate hors d'oeuvres, and laughter rippled through the conversations. Yet as the night progressed, it became evident that the highlight everyone anticipated was the speech. The journalist, a well-known figure in media, had been announced weeks earlier as the gala's keynote speaker. Renowned for their sharp wit and unapologetic critiques, they were celebrated by some and controversial to others. Tonight, their speech was expected to provoke thought and entertain in equal measure. But as the MC introduced them, a subtle shift in the room's energy signaled that the audience braced for something more. Dressed sharply in a sleek black suit, the journalist exuded charisma as they approached the podium. Polite applause greeted them, but an air of expectation lingered. Would they push boundaries tonight? What no one anticipated was how far they would go. The journalist started light, sharing humorous anecdotes about past gala mishaps and the city's infamous traffic. The audience chuckled, tension momentarily easing. For a while, the speech was polished and engaging, nothing out of the ordinary. Then the tone changed. The light banter gave way to pointed critiques of political figures, their policies, and personal quirks. Some jokes landed well, earning chuckles and nods, while others elicited tight-lipped smiles and sidelong glances. Then they turned their sights on Donald Trump. Well, we can't discuss the state of the world without mentioning the man who made orange the new black, the journalist quipped, drawing mixed reactions. Love him or hate him, you have to admit he's been a goldmine. For people like me. Some laughed, others shifted in their seats. At his table, Barron remained impassive, his expression unreadable. If the journalist noticed him, they gave no indication, at least not yet. The commentary intensified. The journalist dissected Trump's policies, his tweets, even his public persona. The amusement in the room waned, replaced by unease. But the journalist wasn't done. And of course, they continued, pausing for effect, we can't forget his most overlooked legacy, the next generation. Let's talk about Barron. A ripple of surprise swept through the room. All eyes turned to Barron, now an unintentional focal point. The journalist's tone remained playful, but the words carried a sting. Imagine growing up in a golden tower, surrounded by marble everything, while your dad tweets about covfefe, and the rest of us are just trying to survive Monday mornings. That must have been character building. A few nervous chuckles punctuated the silence, but most in the audience remained still, absorbing the moment. The weight of the spotlight had fallen on Barron, unasked for and unexpected. Yet instead of reacting with embarrassment or anger, Barron remained composed, his demeanor unshaken. His reaction, or lack thereof, stunned the room. As the journalist's words hung in the air, Barron didn't flinch. He didn't glance around for reassurance or shrink under the weight of scrutiny. Instead, he remained perfectly still, his expression calm yet resolute, his hands resting lightly on the table's edge. The silence grew louder with each passing second. Uneasy glances flickered between guests. Even the journalist, whose confidence had been unwavering, hesitated for the first time. Perhaps they had expected a laugh, a dismissive shrug, anything but this quiet defiance. Barron's stillness was not a sign of passivity. It was something more powerful. His presence, subtle yet commanding, seemed to expand as the moment stretched on. The once lively room was now wrapped in an uncomfortable hush, as if everyone, even those who had chuckled, suddenly felt the weight of the remark. His silence was not an absence of words, but a statement in itself. I hear you, I see you, and I am unmoved. A murmur broke the tension as someone near the stage whispered. The journalists cleared their throat, their confidence wavering. Tough crowd, they muttered into the microphone, forcing a chuckle that went unanswered. The air was thick with expectation. Then Barron moved. Deliberately, he pushed back his chair and stood. The soft scrape of the chair's legs against the floor was the only sound in the vast ballroom. At over 6 feet tall, he was an imposing figure, his presence even more striking in the charged silence. His gaze swept the room before settling on the journalist. He didn't need to speak. His sheer composure commanded the attention of every person present. Even the faintest whispers ceased. Then, without hesitation, he stepped away from his table and walked toward the stage. His posture was steady, each step measured. The journalists stiffened, their earlier bravado waning. The audience watched, riveted, caught between curiosity and disbelief. No one knew what Barron would say or do. But one thing was certain. This young man was about to define the moment. And when he finally spoke, his words were nothing anyone could have anticipated.